How do you do, fellow kids?
Jax, I don't know who's got that super chat, but it's a good point. We are going to talk about that. Let's go ahead and talk about that and be pleasant before we get into the chat stuff. And, I guess because I'm actually not happy about this news, but whoever super chat that is,
I think it's Bob's.
Okay. He does pop up mine, so thank you. Did you hear the announcement that the actors from X-Men movies are going to be appearing in Avengers Doomsday? Do you think the MCU will have a soft reboot after Secret Wars, just like a refresh? I personally, I think they might bring. It seems like they're bringing. So I don't know how far you've dug into it. I haven't even dug that deep into it. As far as I can tell, it looks like
I've got it right here. I watched the thing.
It looks like Kelsey Grammer
I have to
Patrick
say,
Stewart are
dumb way to announce it. I hated it. I understand they were trying to build hype, but like as soon as I saw that, I turned it off. I was like, I'll just wait till the whole list comes out. I'm not gonna sit through this. Millions of people were watching it though, so.
I caught it right as it ended.
I thought Marvel was
good. I don't have to wait for anything. I just have to kind of scan backward and see what they announced.
So I have issues with this, but probably not for the reason that everybody has issues with it, I guess.
We might have the same issue. We'll see.
Maybe.
I've talked about it before.
I haven't thought too much about it, but
the Foxman universe needs to die. I think it needs to be done. I have respect for the parts that I think most people generally think are pretty good, and then there's a lot of stuff that, you know, in hindsight, even at the time, was pissing me off as a hardcore X-Men fan that like they didn't seem to care about certain aspects as much as others. So while they nailed Professor X and Magneto and Wolverine mostly and stuff like that, there was everything else was just like whatever. Nobody cares
Cyclops
about this.
was bad in those movies. Oh my god!
And on that in that vein, it seems like maybe they're trying to pay some respect the same way they did with Deadpool and Wolverine, like bring some of that stuff back into this.
If you'll direct your attention to said screens.
Disney brought him back. They're going to make him do this till he's 90.
Turn that off. Take it off.
Surprise.
We give him a better exit is what I'm hoping, because I really, you know, the moment that they revealed Patrick Stewart in Doctor Strange 2 was the first time I was like, no, stop, fucking don't do this. You know what I mean? But then they did what they did in that movie, and I had hope. And then Wolverine seemed to indicate he was done. Hugh Jackman seemed to indicate he was done at the end of the movie, but he left the door open as well.
Well, I think what happened is Deadpool and Wolverine definitely feels like them like giving a farewell to the Fox universe, but there's still remnants left, unfortunately, with the post-credit scenes in the Marvels.
I think that
they're just addressing that.
I think that they took the wrong lessons from Deadpool and Wolverine again, which is this movie was successful because we threw cameos in it. So now we're going to do the same thing.
No, it makes no damn sense.
In this Doomsday movie,
I mean, I don't think there was ever a time. There was no way they were never gonna not have cameos in these movies. That's just a perfect opportunity, and it works too well.
I didn't think they were gonna have the Fox characters come back as cameos. That's it. Like I think that whole thing, because Channing Tatum is now apparently in it too, which means that they're bringing him back from Deadpool and Wolverine. And
I'm not thrilled with that.
It's just one of those things where I want to be excited for this, but this is where, like, I guess it could come across a little bit chuddy or whatever, is these are one of these stories where there is fidelity from the comics that would literally work in this story that I feel like they're going to ignore because they want to do a cameo fest.
Like, what is this? What am I doing?
What's Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps.
Trust me, I knew they were going to do a ton of cameos. But I didn't think that the Fox characters were coming back. That was the ones where I'm like,
I don't have any evidence to show that they're going to actually like forsake anything we think they should do because they're doing this. But it could happen. You're right. You know, and I hope that that's not the case. I hope that they, you know, but I mean, like at the same time, looking at that cast as it went down to, you know, as I scanned backwards through the stream to look at all the chairs they had there, they don't have a lot as far as like big names that they used to have. And so it kind of in a way makes the sense that they're going to be, you know, reaching back to
I'll be honest. I was shocked that Mark Ruffalo wasn't there. That one really shocked me.
I did see somebody, was it the Russos? They denounced, or somebody said that fan art, or that concept art rather, that came out wasn't necessarily real or some shit like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they did say it wasn't, but I don't know if I believe that or not. I don't like
It could be.
they say stuff all the time. I will say though that this is either going to be on the financial side one of the biggest things that has ever been done in cinema, or one of the biggest bombs that has ever happened in cinema. I don't think there's a mid range on this. I think it's either going to be a soaring success or a massive failure.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing is that they're probably going to spend a shitload of money. So even if it just like does as well as like your average successful Marvel movie, if it doesn't get close to fucking Infinity War and Endgame numbers, then it will be a failure.
For them, I think that would be a failure. Yeah.
Yeah, the Avengers movies are probably some of the few movies where they're actually shooting for $1 billion box office.
It's going to cost close to $1 billion to make both movies, which is what they're going to end up doing.
I mean, seriously, when you think about it, all of these other movies that they do, that the chuds are always talking about, acting like each one of these is somehow, if it fails, then Marvel's done. No, it's more like those movies are made to build up to these types of movies. And like,
yes.
These are the money makers. The Avengers movies were the money makers. That's where they wanted to make all their money.
We're going to see at that point, whether or not that this is a house of cards. You know what I mean? Fuck. I mean, I have to think that they've got something, good brewing, at least as far as the story, but like that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to bring people out to the theaters. I don't know.
It looks very desperate to me, with all this casting. That's one of my big things is I think that the abandonment of what, and when I say abandoned, I don't mean like not using the characters, but I guess them being a little lukewarm on the Phase 4 stuff, holding up the franchise, it's a bad look, because you're going all the way back to the Fox movies, which did not perform very well. Most of those movies didn't do well financially. So,
and I think that and I don't want to. I think that they had earned the leeway to do stuff like Ms. Marvel, which is a weird kind of show, and like Moon Knight, and they took some, they had the chance to do some adventurous stuff for them, and they did, I feel like. But the thing that let that down was that the structure they had that they were planning on failed due to there was a death of Chadwick Boseman, there was
COVID.
COVID. There was everything that they had in place that was going to be like, well, we can experiment with some of this stuff, because as long as this skeleton of like Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man and Wasp, Kang, as long as that stuff's all good, then we're good. But half of that shit failed.
I mean, they didn't follow up with the stuff that people really wanted, like Shang-Chi too. Where did that happen? Where did that go?
You know what? I'm actually wondering what happened with the
True.
director, because like he was originally supposed to be doing this first Avengers movie that's going to be coming up. The first, and then
now
he was.
He's doing Spider-Man now, isn't he?
Is that it?
He's doing Spider-Man 4, I think.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. All right.
Yeah.
Maybe I did know that. Well,
But
too.
I'm surprised they don't have him doing Shang-Chi 2, but Shang-Chi.
Well, that's the thing, is that's supposed to come out now after Secret Wars. So
Are they doing Eternals too?
I don't know about that.
The reason they're not doing that is because, I think they probably could. I don't think it would, be a big deal if they did recast, but what I think they did was they saw an opportunity to pivot to something that they would be more confident would be successful. And that's when you get the RDJ as Doom announcement and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was about ready to say they kind of did, and it's Robert Downey Jr. They kind of.
Yep. Yeah, they recast his. True.
That's another conversation to have. That could be an hour or 2 hour long conversation about what's going on with the box office in terms of movies right now. Because Captain America: Brave New World is like one of the best performing movies at the moment.
Right.
So
it's not even close. It's not even.
Yes. Oh, Kelsey Grammer as well. I don't know if anybody said that yet, but he's going to be there.
Yeah.
I don't have a very fond. Okay, so this is going to sound heartless, I guess, but I don't have a very fond memories in general of the X-Men Fox universe. Like, there's some characters and some movies that I like, but overall, I hated that universe. I was ready for it to die.
I'm with you now, but like at the time, I was like so happy because that was the best. That was all we got. That was the 2000 X-Men. That was a movie that kind of set things into motion. And as a big X-Men fan, at that point, I was Marvel fans longtime Marvel fans have learned how to cope for a long time. That's why whenever the MCU started like actually doing stuff that was more comic accurate, it's like in hindsight, and this is why movies aren't fucking objective, Mahler, you idiot. Because in hindsight, those movies get worse. You know what I mean? Because you're seeing these new movies. Oh, wait,
and I think X-Men 97 shows that they can do stuff that is very comic booky and it works and people will like it.
Absolutely.
Like edging us out with those costume reveals like every couple of movies and then never giving them to us was fucking stupid. Yeah, they botched the Dark Phoenix saga twice. They had a second chance of that to do it right, and they did basically the same fucking thing the second time.
Literally one of the most, possibly the most classic X-Men story, and they fucked it up twice. Now
they don't seem to understand that you don't get Dark Phoenix without Phoenix. You have to have a Phoenix saga and then a Dark Phoenix saga. You can't
and also,
jump to Dark Phoenix.
Even Cyclops and Jean their proper due as a couple, like as in like front and center for a few movies, like really, sell us on their love for each other and stuff, then it's not going to be the tragedy that it needs to be. You know what I mean? It's just not. They couldn't. Yeah, they look at it's like they were looking the same problem as what DC or Warner Brothers did rather for a long time. They would look at their revenue, the history of the books that have come out and sold well, and basically like look at what's at the top of the list and go, what's this Dark Phoenix thing? Let's do that. And they're like, well, we did that a couple of movies ago. Let's do it again. Same thing with like the Death of Superman or whatever. They look at their list and they're like, oh, Death of Superman, that sold really well. Let's do that.
Right.
But it's not a second movie, sir. Let's do it.
Yeah, my issues, I have a lot of issues with the X-Men movies. I know a lot of people probably don't, but I do. I don't want, one of the things I really hope with Marvel was that they weren't going to do too much with those characters. Like the cameo stuff, like with Professor X, okay, whatever. Wolverine and Deadpool, fine. But I was hoping to get sort of a fresh start. What this tells me now is that it reeks of desperation. It reeks of too much fan service. It feels like we're going to have this hanging over our heads because no matter what happens, and trust me, in Secret Wars going into like the next phase of Marvel, we're not going to keep geriatric X-Men around.
Right.
We're going to get a younger group of X-Men.
I want to see the future. I want to be there now. I want them to be, confidently step forward with a cast and a new idea for what it's going to be. I mean, oh God, naive asked me a few years ago when I thought that the Krakoan era in the comics was going to be what the MCU pulled from. Well, fuck. We can't even get them to do anything new.
I think X2 in a vacuum, like as a standalone movie, is fine. I think as part of a larger scope of films, it still suffers from the same problems as the rest of the movies.
X2, First Class,
First Class is my favorite one.
Logan. Good movies, but
The First Class still had problems too. I mean, there was a lot of issues with First Class.
Yes, it did.
But it's still, I think, the best individual like X-Men movie.
I would argue that's the best movie with the name X-Men in the title.
You know what, man? And this is a valid perspective too, because shit's not great right now. Like, sometimes you just gotta take the wins where you can.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't want to be one of those guys on the internet that's like, it's not exactly the way that I want it, so I'm gonna complain. I'm gonna see this with open mind. I'm gonna go into it, the same way I did with, like I said, I didn't want Hugh Jackman to come back. I didn't want any of this shit to stick around. But I was very pleasantly surprised with Deadpool Wolverine, and I'm hoping this, wins me over.
Yeah. I'm hoping kind of Deadpool and Wolverine kind of is the end of it, and they just bring back the bare minimum that they need to resolve whatever they're doing with the Marvels and then do a new thing.
I actually think these are going to be billion-dollar movies. I believe they're going to be billion-dollar movies. I think they're going to be successful. So
they have a very good chance.
It's almost like they're too big to fail. But like the thing that struck me just a little while ago, right? Because I'd read this or seen this news, and then I was kind of thinking about it, talking to a couple people about it, and then suddenly it hit me. Hugh Jackman's going to come back too, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's going to
100%.
He has
probably.
We're not going to do all this and not bring Jackman back for it.
And I love Hugh Jackman,
these characters and actors because let them do it. You know what I mean? Like let them have a movie instead of the problem. One of the big problems with all those X-Men movies, they were essentially Wolverine movies.
Yeah.
And I'm a fucking Wolverine head. This is me saying this.
And I love what like Hugh Jackman kind of did his own thing with the character, and I fucking love it. But like, we can do a new one, guys. It's okay.
I think they are too afraid to do it 100%. That's why we're getting this in Doomsday.
Yeah.
But if we get anything like if Secret Wars is going to be anything like the one from the comics, we can tell like these little pocket stories before like wrapping everything up. But I don't know. I have no idea. I look. I want to be excited, but I feel so let down because I was looking forward to like a fresh start from the X-Men, and this feels to me like it's not a fresh start. So
Well, it shouldn't be too hard. I mean, X-Men 97 isn't that old. I feel like that is kind of like, if you're looking for a good way to restart the X-Men, see what X-Men 97 did and do something similar. That'd be much better.
Yeah, exactly. That's what. Yeah, for sure. I mean, so what I'm thinking is that like, what is Marvel's idea of what they're doing here, right? So are they, do they think that if they just give fans enough of these versions that they're gonna satisfy fans, and then whenever they move on, they'll be like those completely support it, or what? You think maybe that's?
I think there's a combination of stuff happening. I think they took the wrong lessons from the Black Widow, Eternals, Shang-Chi, because those movies came out during turbulent times. So they were like, people must not want these kinds of movies, so we're not going to do them anymore. I think they've allowed stuff mistakes they've made, like with the Marvels, trying to like, instead of doing a Captain Marvel 2, doing some weird movie that felt like a hybrid of 2 or 3 different things. Didn't work, so they ran away from that. So they're like, fuck it, we'll just go back and use the same stuff that we've been doing that made us all that money in phases 1 and 2. Is essentially what I think they're doing.
I don't think that we have to be mutually exclusive here, Greg. Like, I am somewhat disappointed, but at the same time, I very much hope that this is exactly what they do. That they're gonna hit it out of the park the same way, bringing back fucking Elektra. You know what I mean? But yet she makes a great appearance in that movie.
I think so, Greg, and I don't want to come across, I guess, jaded about this, but I don't want all of these old actors to come back and knock it out of the park just to get erased.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. If they come back and they kill it, we're either going to end up with geriatric X-Men all in their 80s next year. You know what I mean? Like all these old guys playing X-Men, which I hate to say that, that's not sustainable.
No.
You have to do another reset at some point. Because the continuity in the X-Men films was fucked.
Yes.
Completely fucked. The age ranges were different. The character stories were all fucked up. One brother was younger when he was supposed to be older. There was just all of these fucked up things they did.
And then they kind of had a perfect opportunity, and seemed like they did try to correct it with the end of Days of Future Past.
Yes.
And then after that, it was just like, oh no, let's fuck it up again.
And some characters have 2 different versions. So which one do we go with at that point? You know what I mean? So we're in a situation where if we bring them back and they do good, which one do you keep? What if both Magnetos are fantastic? Do we just keep both Magnetos in the MCU? Do we get rid of one and keep the other? Do we boot both of them? It's such a weird thing. I don't know how they're going to make anybody happy with this. That's why I just don't. Why even do it? Why?
I agree.
Well, if we had a chud scale of how chuddy somebody's being, I think, Eric, you're a little bit more on the chud end of the spectrum right now. But I mean, I feel you generally.
I want it to be good, but my thing is, I'll be completely honest. I never wanted to see these characters again.
True.
I never did.
I agree. Like, when Marvel bought it, I was excited to see what they would do different. I was excited to see them do new versions of these characters.
Yeah, they had a perfect opportunity to just to do it brand new.
Mm-hmm.
That's
because believe it or not, these are not the best versions.
I mean, some of them are okay, I think, but they're still not good enough to hold on to all of them.
No,
you know.
The only one I was actually kind of hoping they'd keep around was Daphne Keane as Laura. That's the one I was kind of hoping they'd keep around.
Are they not going to do that? Because
and I feel like that. I feel like okay, so the X universe, like you're saying, Dane, right now. The X universe in Deadpool and Wolverine seems to me like a very clear cut. This is what we're going to do. We're going to keep her around, maybe keep Hugh around, and everything else is being erased. And I'm like, okay, I'm okay with that. But that's not what they're doing now. We're gonna have them come back again in Doomsday. I don't know. I can't be excited. Look, I can't pretend to be excited, and I also can't pretend to hate stuff. My opinion about this is I'm very confused, and I don't really want to see these actors back again. That's where I'm at in all this, you know. But some people are going to love it, and it's going to make a bunch of money.
And it's all we got to see how the execution is. There's a possibility I will love this. I just am not thrilled with it initially. But
my question is, Bob, if they kill it and they do a good job, are they going to erase these characters? That's the problem.
And yeah, that is the problem, because if they kill it and they make a lot of money, they're not. And
Right.
that- yeah.
Because right now, seeing them come back tells me that because of Deadpool and Wolverine, that's why this is happening. And they know there's money to be made there. So are we gonna get the 10th X-Men movie in the Fox universe next year?
Oh God.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't like it. Although, here, real quick before we move on, I did want to cover Jack because he was nice enough to do a super chat here.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they give the Fox universe a proper farewell by merging it with the MCU and hopefully start anew properly and keeping Channing Tatum.
I don't want
I'll be honest. Thank you for the super chat, but I'll be honest. I thought Channing Tatum's Gambit was a funny joke, but I kind of don't want to see him come back. I don't.
Yeah. That's my
Maybe if he
concern,
gets
though.
way
Like,
better.
God, it's making me so
that's-
sad.
They took the wrong lesson, right? Is they're like, oh, they like Channing
Yeah.
Tatum. It's Gambit. It's kind of like the Morbius.
He joked his way into a role. Like, it's
Yeah.
literally just a joke role.
That is
just
not
like
the
when
Gambit I
Sony
want to see in the
fucking put
MCU.
Morbius back in theaters, right? For another, because they thought people were talking about it, right? So they must.
He doesn't even have a backstory. He was born in the void. He said he doesn't remember anything other than the void. He doesn't have a backstory. He wasn't connected to anything.
Plus,
Yeah,
he was.
where do I go
time.
from there? I don't even know where to go from there. Honestly, he doesn't. He's not part of any universe.
And they had a fantastic Gambit in freaking X-Men 97. I feel like I'm going to repeat myself on that one. But, like, X-Men 97 kind of set out how you can handle these characters. And I'm not saying MCU just copy it, but, like, you know, there's some good guideposts. It's not Fox. Fox are not the good guideposts. Don't know.
Well, Sean, he's not an iteration at all, really. He's a joke. It was a joke character. He was a gag character.
He literally comes in and
Yeah.
they make jokes about his accent because it's obviously shitty.
Because they can't understand. Like, how do you turn that? There's no backstory for him. When we meet him in the void, he's literally been in the void the whole time. That's it. That's his whole story. He's never been a character. Do we really want a Gambit as our main Gambit that has no connection to any world?
I don't want a Gambit that's a joke. I don't.
I don't either. It's rough. It's rough.
Yeah. So-
I'm gonna have to do a whole stream covering all the casting this week because I'm probably gonna talk about every single one. But I am not super happy with all of the Fox X-Men stuff being there.
And
So yeah.
again, I'm saying this with the caveat. You know, I'm not saying it's not going to be good. They might do a really good job with it. I'd like to see fresher faces. I'd like to see them do a new thing.
But Pink Bunny Zero, I don't think we're going to be dealing with the multiverse after Secret Wars, right? That's the whole point, is that the incursion events happen. They keep what works. They get rid of what doesn't work. That's what they're trying to do. So there's no multiverse reason to keep that Gambit around.
Well, Adam, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Gambit being funny. I'm saying I don't want it to be a joke. Channing Tatum's Gambit in that movie was a joke character. Gambit can be funny. I don't want him to be a joke.
I want Gambit with a real backstory. I want a real
Yes,
character.
yeah.
I don't want a character made as a throwaway gag. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't know. Charles,
again.
so I want to pull this up. I don't know why people come in podcasts where people are talking about what they are thinking about when it comes to movies and TV shows and get mad that people are talking about those things and speculating about those things. I mean, that's really what all these podcasts are.
Yeah, that's kind of the point of the
I don't
show.
really understand that critique.
Speculation. I mean,
It would be very boring if people sat around and just said, okay, we got names. Now let's move on to the next topic.
I'll read
Like,
off the names.
right. This person. Okay, now next topic. Like, what are we going to do? We're talking about what we think about this. Yeah, different opinions are fine, Adam. I'm not holding it against anybody. Like I said, there's going to be a bunch of people that are really happy about this. I still think the movie is going to make $1 billion. I think both movies are going to do billions of dollars. And they could be great. They could be great movies. I will save my final opinion on it after I see it. I'm not going to make...
exactly.
You're not going to see me make video after video telling people to not go support the film.
Yeah, we aren't even saying
so-
the movie's going to be bad. We're just saying This cast list announcement doesn't thrill us.
That people have now, and I'm not saying anybody specific in this chat, now if you say you don't like something, you're immediately being a hater. Like that's the way people feel about things now. So there's I love the MCU. I love these characters. I'm not a fan of the Fox X-Men universe. Yeah.
And trust me, if Eric Debunks or Eric's Reloaded starts putting out nonstop hater content on the fucking Avengers movies between now and then, I'll be covering them. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Feige, Disney, or whoever very easily could have told them they have to do certain things that are going to spin off into future projects or whatever.
Yeah.
And they didn't really do that.
This movie was a love letter to the Fox universe. Actually, Dean in my comments brought up a very good point. They did miss a cameo with Foggy Nelson. He was right there, and they didn't do it.
Yeah. That would have been confusing. Like, why you wouldn't just hire the same actor that's been in the movies since the first Iron Man film to play another character later on in the MCU, would you?
No.
All right, you assholes.